if you've ever had a situation where you have a hole or a pool or tank or something that's filled with water, or you need to empty it somehow and you don't have a pump, you can siphon it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. If you've never done it before, it may seem complicated. It's actually pretty simple if you just follow some basic rules of physics. But so what I have on the screen here is I have a video I took. I've been doing some work to bury the water tank for our home's water, and we got a huge thunderstorm this weekend and got like 4 inches of rain in about an hour, and the hole around the tank filled up with water, as you can see here. I'll play just a little bit here. And so I wanted to get water out of this hole, and I have a submersible pump, but it doesn't always work, and I don't like pulling a lot of crap through it. And so there's a simpler way to do this, using a garden hose. You can use any kind of a hose, but a good garden hose works pretty good. And the idea is, and you have to have some fall. You at least have where the water comes out of the hose has to be lower than the water that goes where the water is coming into the hose. But it doesn't. You can go over a rise as long as the outlet is lower than the inlet. So here's the hole. And so let me walk you through the process, and then I'll explain to you how it works. So here I am. Here's this tank on the left. There's two tanks on the left, but one of them has water in it left over from my auxiliary. I'm going to hook a garden hose up to it, and I'm going to fill the garden hose with water. You don't have to fill it all the way, but I'm going to fill it all the way, starting there. And use the bigger hose that you can. These are 3/4 inch farm/contractor grade hoses. A smaller hose will work, but you'll just get less volume and more likely to plug up. So I'm going to hook up one of my 3/4 inch hoses. I'm actually going to do a second one, but I'm going to hook it up to this outlet, and I'm going to let it fill up with water. So I'll show you doing that. Got the garden hose. I'm hooking it up. And then what I did, I cut this part out of the video, but once I had it hooked up, I turned the valve and I let water flow through the hose. Once I had the hose full, I either turn the nozzle or unscrew it, whichever one is first, and then you immediately want to take the hose. You can either hold your hand over the hose or just take it and flip it into the water source, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm unscrewing it. I turn the water off. I got my hand over the end, and I'm dropping it in the hole within a few seconds. Okay. Now the hose is in the water. Let me back up just a little bit here. So the hose, the inlet is down in the hole, and I would have lost a little water at the bottom, but as long as the hose is still at least partially full with water, what happens is the water, as it drains out the bottom, actually creates a suction, and it pulls water in through the end. It's not pure gravity. It actually is creating a suction. So I took the hose that had water in it from the inlet. You can do this. You can fill it up with at a hydrant or whatever, but you got to get water in the hose somehow. And then you drop the end, the inlet end into wherever you're sucking water out of, which is what I'm doing here. And then I'll take you down and I'll show you. So you got here, the water is coming out. You can see it's murky water. So it is now pulling water out of the inlet, out of the hole up there, and drawing it down. And unless and until it runs out of water or gets plugged, it will continue to do that. And you can hook up multiple hoses. So I actually hooked up a second one right next to it. But it's drawing, and here it's just a time lapse. You can see it drawing the water down. This is 2 hoses here, and this probably took, I don't know how much water is in there. It took an hour and a half, a couple hours. You can see it drawing down. You can see the hoses, they're exposed there. So this is the one in the middle is the one that I was doing on the video, and then I hooked up a second one. You can see it's mostly dry around there. And so that's how you siphon. If you want, I'm going to show you on a screen. Let me show you on screen how I do it. Let's see here. Let's do this. I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to make this one. Okay. So let me show you the principle here. So let's say you've got there's water in here, okay? Could be a tank, could be a pool, and there's probably sides on it. And you've got a hose, okay? And the hose, pipe or whatever, is like this, okay? What you got to do is you have to get water into at least part of this hose. And once you do, then you have your thing. You got your hose here, and you got to have some gravity. You got it. The end of this hose has to be lower than wherever it's drawing from. Okay, it won't draw it uphill. This has to be lower from wherever it's drawing from, even if it has to go up over a side. And so as the water that was in the hose starts to come out this end, it is drawing water back up into here. Occasionally, if you lose too much water, you get too much air in here, it won't pull. You just start the process over. You can, if you really want, if you don't have a way to fill the hose, you can take your hose, you can put your mouth on here, and you can actually suck water into here, which will draw water up. And the key then is to take it off your mouth right before the water gets to you. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So I've sucked water out of the pool that way. It's like a straw. Just suck on it. Sorry, my drawings are terrible. But you just suck on it to get some water coming up into the hose. Once it gets up into the hose, and as long as it's downhill, it will then flow out. It'll flow, and as it flows out, it will continue to draw water up behind it. And so you can siphon it that way. We used to, as a kid, siphon gas out of tanks that way. Do not recommend it. That is a really good or bad way, however you look at it, to get gas in your mouth. But it's the same principle. But for water, you can either suck on it to get it started and then drop the hose down, or better yet, like I do, which is to fill the hose up at a source. And if you're in a pool, the other thing that you can do, it actually works pretty good. If you got a tank, is to just coil the hose up and then just push it down into under the water and let that hose fill up. It will take a little bit. It takes a while for the air to get out, but you can actually coil the hose up and put it down into the pool and let it fill up, and then keep the inlet end down, and then just pull, and then put your hand over the end of the hose to hold it. Move the hose down to where we get it as low as you can. Get it as low as you can from the source, and then take it off, and water should flow out of that hose. You just got to get water in the hose somehow, and then siphon should take it from there. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.